This is a follow-up video to one that I did a few days ago about attaching scabs to floor joist so that the floor sheathing might work better. And while reading some of the comments, I realized that there just might be another video here. So let's go ahead and get started with one more tip, and that would be centralizing the starting point. And again, this would be only if it's going to work better for you, because you can see here where it's going to produce a little more waste. And in reality, we're only going to be wasting about 2 more sheets of floor sheathing to use this method here. And the reason for starting at the center or near the center would be that we could begin the sheathing from the center of the lapping joist to ensure staggered joints on both sides won't need any scab sister joist. And another thing I'd like to point out is some engineers require this piece to be at least 16, 18 inches or 24 inches wide. And of course, to fix this, all we need to do is start with a 24-inch wide piece here, because the floor joists are going to be long enough. We're going to be using 10-foot long joist for this project, suggesting that we're not going to need to scab any boards to the joist when we go to offset the layout or move it over 1.5 inches so that the sheathing will work on this side. Now, another thing I need to point out is that you're going to end up with a problem at the other end here. So here we have an 8-foot sheet over here, an 8-foot sheet at the end over here. And over here, the floor sheathing is going to be 1.5 inches smaller because we're going to be moving it over to make the lapping joist work better. And since we're going to make this 1.5 inches shorter, we're going to end up with a problem at the other end because we've built this floor to be 32 feet long. And to fix this, of course, all you would need to do would be to add a scab to this side. This probably isn't going to be that big of a deal because you're going to have a wall sitting on top of this area. So I don't think you're going to end up with something squeaking eventually. Next up on the list would be to relocate the structural beams. For example, you might move the structural beam over to here so that the floor sheathing on each side would be located in the center of that beam, providing plenty of nailing for the floor sheathing on both sides. Next up on the list, if we needed to, we could always extend the floor joist on the other side. For example, a 12-foot long board will provide us with enough area for 3 rows of floor sheathing, and that would look something like this. And even though I think this is a bit overkill, it might be something to consider on your project. Next up on the list, I want to point out that no matter what you do on some projects, you're going to end up with waste. So simply accept that and move on with the project. Next on the list will be to make sure that the floor joist spacing is accurate and laid out correctly, to make sure that the plywood breaks half on the floor joist. And this would include adding 1/8 inch if you need to have 1/8 inch gap between the plywood breaks. An example of that would be the first layout to provide you with an 8-foot on center spacing for this joist here. However, for the next one, you're going to need to add 1/8 inch. And the next one after that, you're going to need to add 1/8 inch so that you can produce an 1/8 spacing between the floor sheathing, another thing that's recommended by the product manufacturer. Another thing one of our viewers pointed out was that it's not as easy to scab onto I-joist or truss joist. And you might not be able to use it for open web floor framing either. Make sure that you check with the product manufacturer for an approved detail before making any modifications to the floor framing to compensate for any floor sheathing adjustments. Next up on the list will be to raise the beam and then use joist hangers to make sure that we can line the joist up on the other side. And with this method here, we could always break the floor sheathing on the center of the beam if we needed to, but that wouldn't be something we would have to do. And even though this method might work for you, I would rather lower the beam and have the joist lap to save a few dollars on the joist hangers. And in my opinion, setting the joist on top of the beam will provide you with a better product. Next up, let's take a look at blocking. Like I said, in one of the examples, you would end up wasting 2 sheets of floor sheathing, but you wouldn't have to do that if you installed some blocks. Now, of course, you're going to have additional time and materials to install the blocking, which might be another reason to avoid doing this. And since we're here, I might as well point out that blocks are probably one of the biggest reasons you're going to end up with a floor squeaking noise, along with joist hangers. Joist hangers have been known to cause floor squeaking, along with nailing the scabs onto the floor joist, along with lumber shrinking as it dries, and other additional hardware and nailing. And I'm pretty sure I already have another video on that. You can always check that out at our website. And the last thing I want to mention, if you want to avoid using any types of blocking or scab sister joist, will be to make sure that you figure out how to make the plumbing, electrical, heating, and even structural floor transfers from structural loads above, creating additional floor sheathing burdens that would force you to use blocking or scab sister joist to the existing floor joist. And thanks for watching. To learn more about home building and repairs, visit us at our website. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. See you next time.